Well, then y'all really grab right quick what I'm talking about. Those who don't know how to play chess, let me tell you, chess is a game of strategy. And in order to hope to win, you have to have some sense of strategic idea and planning. Let's talk first of all about the forms of government. Now I'm telling y'all right now, before we go any further in the message, I'm going to be doing some educating here today, okay? How many of y'all have ever heard the word democratic before? All right. How many of y'all, by the way, in here Democrats? Let me see your hand. All right, I see some hands. How many of you ever heard the word Republican before? How many of you are Republicans? Let me see your hand. All right, mostly Democrats. Isn't it deep that most black folk are Democrats? And it's really deep because I don't think any of us really know why. But I'm going to help you understand today what that's really about. There are various forms of government, brothers and sisters. But basically, they come into two categories. Everybody say, rule by God, and the other is rule by man. Now, the first form of government, as we just said, ruled by God, is called a theocracy. Coming from the word theos, kratic, theocratic, meaning it is a government by immediate divine guidance. Under the category of rule by man, there are various forms, and I'm going to try to touch on those today. The first form of government, theocratic, theocracy, ruled by God, whether we want to admit it or not, we virtually have no control, brothers and sisters, over the theocratic form of government. This is God's decision. God is the one who determines this type of government depending on her plans. Y'all heard what I said, right? I said her plans. See, ancient Africans understood that the creative force was considered the mother goddess creative force of the universe. His idea is something that we learned from the patriarchal concept and chauvinistic mind of the European man. But since we're still in there, I'm trying to kind of help us develop into an awareness of, so we say his, her, or her a lot. Being that the theocratic form of government is determined by God, it really doesn't make much sense for me to even discuss that form of government because it's not a viable alternative. There are various forms, however, of man-made government. Some of the more common types are, everybody repeat after me, where no one rules. Where no one rules. That's the first. The proper word for that is anarchy. When nobody rules, that's called an anarchy. In an anarchy, you have what is called lawless confusion, disorder, chaos, and turmoil. That's in an anarchy. Then you have another type of government where one man rules. That's called a dictatorship or a monarchy. In that you are liable to see what's called unlimited rule. You're liable to see something called tyranny. You're liable to see what might be referred to as a totalitarian government, wherein coercion is used to rule the people. The other type of government is where a few people rule. The proper word for that is oligarchy. O-L-I-G-A-R-C-H-Y. In an oligarchy, you have what's called a small elite group of people. that rules the masses. The nobility group exercising control, and usually it's for corrupt and selfish reasons. Then you have a type of government called where the majority rules. That's called a democracy. Y'all heard of that before, right? Yes. For you Democrats. Okay? A democracy. That consists of what is called constitutionally elected representatives. A democracy is a form of government that is traditionally controlled at the top by a small ruling group of people, or oligarchy. The people in a democracy are conditioned to believe, follow what I'm saying to you people, the people in a democracy are conditioned to believe that they are indeed the decision-making power. Yes. Did you hear that? Yes. But in truth and in reality, the people are not the decision-making power. It's that small group of people at the top that makes all of the decisions for the masses. In a democracy, they lie to you and tell you go vote. And the masses go vote thinking that in what's going on. When in reality, after you vote, it's still that small oligarchy at the top that makes the decisions. So the only true form of government throughout history has been the oligarchy, or that rule by a minority for the majority. In the 1928 United States Army Training Manual, what year did I say? 1928. Yes. The 1928 United States Army Training Manual defines a democracy as, and I quote, a government of the masses. Authority derived through mass meeting or any form of direct expression. Sometimes, follow this good now, sometimes this definition results in what is called a mobocracy. A mobocracy. M-O-B-O-C-R-A-C-Y. You'll understand what it is. And that is actually a word. Look it up in the dictionary. A mobocracy is often confused for a democracy. The only thing, mobocracy is the mob. Oh yeah. When the mob rules, what do we mean by the mob? When you got a group of people who are unruly, lawless, and confused, that constitutes what is called a mobocracy. I'll spell it again for you. M-O-B-O-C-R-A-C-Y. The attitude in a mobocracy is that the will of the majority or the mob shall regulate based upon deliberation or governed by passion, prejudice, or without restraint or regard to consequence. In other words, brothers and sisters, whenever God sends a messenger, whenever God sends a prophet, that's because there are certain circumstances that are going on that necessitates that particular messenger. God never sends a messenger for no reason at all. Do y'all hear what I'm saying? Ezekiel lived during a time of international upheaval, according to the story. What did I just say? According to the story. Let's look at the historical backdrop of the story here. As a result of territorial expansionism. Notice what I just said. Territorial expansionism. In other words, there was a group of people from the north called Assyrians. And the Assyrians were going into other countries, invading them. No different than today. There's a group of people from the northern hemisphere who goes all over the world today with a program called European expansionism. Or manifest destiny. In other words, these people from the north believe that God has destined them to rule the world. Write it down. Manifest destiny. 2 words. Go to the internet, type it in, and see what comes up. It is the doctrine of European expansionism. And that's one of the reasons why the United States of America right now has military bases in every country in the world. Because it's about domination of other cultures. Well, the Assyrian Empire had destroyed the northern kingdom of Israel in 722 BC. In 612 BC, the combined forces of the Medes and the Babylonians conquered Assyria. Now, check this good now. In 597 BC, according to their story, the Babylonian king, whose name was Nebuchadnezzar, went into Jerusalem. Notice what I said now, to Jerusalem, right? So you're following this real well. Everybody say Babylon. Babylon. Now, so that you'll understand, Babylon is the place of sinners. Symbolically in the Bible, Babylon is known as the place of evil. Guess what entity is symbolically known as Babylon today? United States. The Roman Catholic Church. Buddy. The Roman Catholic Church, or Rome, is known as Babylon. Did y'all hear that? Yes. So now we have this guy here, according to their story, the Babylonian king known as Nebuchadnezzar, who went into the Holy Land, as they call it, Jerusalem. Yes. But we know where the real Holy Land is. Rome went into Africa. Yes. Y'all following this thing here? Yes. Under the auspices of the Roman Catholic Church, Europeans from the symbolic Babylon went into the holy place known as Egypt, Africa, invaded it, stole our people from it, imprisoned them. Now, according to their story, Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonian king, took approximately 10,000 Jews and were holding them in exile. But he didn't just choose any Jews. Let me tell you who Nebuchadnezzar chose. He chose their priests. He chose their teachers and other influential persons who were responsible for upholding the oral traditions of the people. Why did he take them? Because he knew if he got rid of the priests and the teachers and the griots who were responsible for upholding the African traditions, a few generations down the road, they wouldn't even know who they are. Y'all following this story here? So having removed the legitimate leaders, see, what he did is, even though he put them in exile, Nebuchadnezzar chose flunkies from among the people and made them illegitimate leaders to teach the people what Nebuchadnezzar wanted taught. Yes. Y'all with me? Yes. So after removing the legitimate leaders from the people, Israel's monarchy came to an end about 58 to 60 years later. Isn't that deep? That short a time. About 58 to 60 years later, the people did not remember their own culture. Sounds like another folk you know, doesn't it? They had no more respect for their God, no more respect for their ways. So after Ezekiel received word that his people had come to complete spiritual ruin, God took this man and showed him a vision and what happened to his people and what was going to happen. He saw his people portrayed as dry bones in a valley that would one day be resurrected. But now let's look at Ezekiel's task. Turn very quickly to the 2nd chapter of Ezekiel, and let's see what the Bible says about this man who God sent to awaken the dead. Ezekiel, the 2nd chapter, turn quickly. Don't tell your pages now, but just turn quickly. If you have it, say Ashe. Now I'm going to read quickly, follow along with me, and see if we can apply our predicament as a people here. This is Ezekiel speaking, and he said unto me, meaning God said unto me, Son of man, stand up on your feet, and I will speak to you. What is the message there? The message is, first of all, before you can hear from God, you got to get up. Get up on your feet, black man. Hello. 2nd verse, and the Spirit entered into me when he spake unto me and set me upon my feet, that I heard him that spake unto me. 3rd verse, and he said unto me, Son of man, I'm going to send you to the children of Israel. And I'm going to tell you now, brother, these are some rebellious people. All right. You know what it says? Yeah. To a rebellious nation that hath rebelled against me. They and their fathers have transgressed against me even to this very day. 4th verse, for they are impudent children and stiff-hearted. Good Lord have mercy. I do send thee unto them. What a thing. I can hear Ezekiel now. No, Lord, no. But God said, Ezekiel, I'm sending you to these people who are rebellious, who are impudent, who are stiff-hearted, and thou shalt say unto them, thus saith the Lord. Come on. And they, whether they will hear or whether they will forbear, for they are a rebellious house now. What it says? Yet shall know that there hath been a prophet among them. In other words, as rebellious as the people are, Ezekiel, you go tell them what I told you. That's right. And whether they like it or not, whether they rebel or not, they cannot deny that a man of God is here among them. 6th verse, and thou, son of man, don't you be afraid of them. All right now. Neither be afraid of their words. I don't care how much noise they make. All right. Y'all see this? Though briars and thorns be with thee, and thou dost dwell among scorpions. Good Lord have mercy. Be not afraid of their words, nor be dismayed at their looks. Y'all know how mean some folk can look, right? Though they be a rebellious house. 7th verse, and thou shalt speak my words unto them, whether they will hear or whether they will forbear, for they are most rebellious. But thou, son of man, hear what I'm saying to you. Be not thou rebellious like that rebellious house. In other words, God is saying to the prophet, now listen, Ezekiel, don't you end up being rebellious like them. Good Lord have mercy. It's easy to do that. In other words, it's easy for the prophet to say, Lord, I'm tired of trying to raise the dead. I'm tired of trying to reach these people. And God said, don't you rebel. All right. Don't be like them. Open your mouth and eat I give thee. And when I looked, and behold, a hand was sent unto me, and lo, a roll of a book was therein. And he spread it before me, and it was written within and without. And there was written therein lamentations and mourning and woe. Lamentations and mourning and woe. That's not good news. Lamentations, that means sadness. Crying and woe, that ain't good news. Look at the person next to you and say, everybody wants a happy gospel. That's what people want to hear. People want to hear, make me feel good stuff. But there comes a time when God's prophet got to tell you the lamentations, the mournings and the woes. You see, sometimes, brothers and sisters, those are the words that God will send through the preacher to take a paddle to your behind and say, get up from here, you mighty people. Ooh, Lord have mercy. So you see the prophet's task. God sent him to a people that God even told him, these some hard-headed folk. But I'm sending you to these people. Let's look at the people's condition. As hard-headed as they were God's people. Look at go back to the 37th chapter, the 11th verse. Back to the 37th chapter, 11th verse. These were God's people. Notice what it says. It says, then he said unto me, son of man, these bones. Everybody say bones. Bones. Whew, man. Try to see in your mind a graveyard where the people have never been buried, but they've been dead so long. Only thing you see scattered around is bones. Dried up, dusty bones. Then he said unto me, son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Behold, they say, now check it out, even the people are saying, now mind you, this is a vision. This is not for real. This is what Ezekiel saw in a vision. Okay, he wasn't really standing out in an open field with bones around. This is what God showed him in a vision. And notice what the bones, even though they're dead, this is what they're saying about themselves. What does it say? Our bones are dried. In other words, our bones, we have become putrefied. Good Lord have mercy. Y'all ever see bones that get so dry they got holes all in them? Yes. See what I'm saying? Our bones are dried. And what else does it say? And our hope is lost. We are cut off from our parts. Sound like my people. We're in trouble. The etymology of the word Israel shows us the time, and the name comes from an ancient African consciousness. Everybody say Yisrael. Yisrael. 3 syllables, Yisrael, which stands for, the Is stands for Isis, the Ra stands for God, standing for that attribute of God which means will prevail. Now what does that mean? It means that God, good God Almighty, will through Mother Isis prevail. Let me grab that again in case you missed it. In other words, the message in the very word Israel means that our hope of prevailing is in the strength of the mother of the people. You still didn't grab it. Black woman. Black woman. The word Israel is the definition that God will raise us up through you, black woman. That's the definition of the word Israel. The man is the warrior to protect you black woman. Now you understand why there are programs out here and videos out here that want us to call y'all bitches. I didn't mean to scare you, but listen, if y'all can hear it on the television, let me keep it real up here today. Want us to call you out of your name. Want us to call you less than you are. And the reason for that is because if we can degrade the black woman, then God's chance of prevailing is diminished. Y'all hear what I'm saying? How did the people get into this condition? Turn to the 11th chapter of Ezekiel. I'm going to show you right quick. 11th chapter. Turn back some chapters here to 11th chapter, the 12th verse. And let's see how these Africans got into this condition of being dried bones laying out covered with dust. All right. How did these people get in this condition? In Ezekiel 11 and 12, y'all have it? Yes. Notice what it says. It says, and you shall know that I am the Lord, for you have not walked in my statutes. Everybody say, the people turned away from God's way for them. That's the first thing. You Africans, you have not walked in my statutes, but you have taken on the statutes of a people that don't even know me. Neither have you executed my judgments, but you have done after the manners of who? You have taken on the ways of the heathen that are round about you. That's why you're in the condition you are in, African people. Good God Almighty. Now y'all think I'm playing? Let's deal with this thing here. The word heathen, look it up in your Strong's Concordance. It comes from the Hebrew word goy, G-O-W-Y. In the plural, it's the word goyim, G-O-I-I-M, which means those nations of the northern hemisphere that don't worship the true and living God. Buddy, you've taken on the ways of the northerners. You've taken on the ways of the people who climbed out of the Caucasus Mountains and made up a religion and gave it to you. That's why you in the shape you in, Africans. What? Now that's one way. What's the second reason why these Africans are compared to dry bones? Everybody say, because they refuse to hear the watchman on the wall. Turn to the 33rd chapter. I'm going to prove it to you. 33rd chapter of Ezekiel. You have it? Say Ashe. Y'all getting real fast at this thing here. Ezekiel 33. Again, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, speak to the children of thy people. Wait a minute. Speak to the children of whose people? Look at the person next to you and say, Ezekiel, as is every true messenger of God, was sent to his own people. Don't ever forget that.